Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Resilient Purpose Podcast. Today, I get to meet with Rachel Brooks, who is a fitness and lifestyle entrepreneur. She's also the best-selling author of Chasing Perfection and the host of the Confident Woman podcast. So today, I think is a really important episode because we talk about fitness, where we derive our self-worth, how we sometimes can get really hyper-focused on one thing and we start to neglect other parts of our life. So one of the things that I really appreciated about this episode overall is just the mindset that we have to create to live a healthy lifestyle and to use the power of self-reflection to kind of figure out where we're maybe running into roadblocks and then finding ways to overcome them. So I think there's a lot of valuable nuggets in this episode that I think you can use for your own wellness and be able to kind of just learn a lot today. So hope everybody enjoys this episode. As always, please like and share. And if you feel salty, do a 5-star review on any one of our platforms. Apple Podcasts would be great. So we really find that's helpful in the journey that we are on to create a wonderful podcast for you guys. So take care, everybody. Enjoy. In kind of doing my research, I was really interested because your platform is really about confidence and really kind of mindset oriented. And you started off your career, if I read it correctly, bodybuilding and kind of that performance competition where your confidence and mindset probably is tested every day or every moment. I mean, I'm just that's a probably a tough transition or a tough field to kind of really, I mean, I guess it's probably a slippery slope. I don't know what your thoughts were, or experience was in trying to maintain a healthy mindset while being in a field where you're constantly judged.
Yeah, and that's so actually from the very first competition to even the last competitions that I competed in back in 2018 was my last competition. From 2012 to 2018, just watching the physical and mental transformation that really took place. In 2012, I would say that I didn't even know what mindset was. It was just like, yeah, I'm aware, whatever. Like, look at me, I'm here, blah blah blah. And
right.
And coming full circle to 2018. It's just night and day difference. And really, this is what, I equip women with the tools and resources to really help empower them to create a healthy and sustainable, like lasting change within lifestyle. And so having come full circle from being on the other side, that was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just wanted to do this competition for all the wrong reasons. Well, at the time it sounded like the right reasons, but then coming full circle to 18 with just now look at where all the struggles that I had to overcome, look at what I've been able to learn and develop on my own, tapping into other people for resources and connections to really now giving back to that woman so that they too are equipped with the right tools and not land in the same place that I had to be. And so that's kind of really what I do with my journey, is just give back to those who are, whether they're just starting in the same place or halfway through their journey. It just really is just knowing that they don't have to do it alone and make it so long and arduous like I did.
Do you use your experience of kind of having to go from a place of not having a clue to kind of building it as you go along as a way to kind of connect with the people you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, part of it is, and I almost think it's like a benefit, for some people, they're like, their story can define them or it can refine them. And I think it's so important to really look back at the woman I was back then, because I could tap into where I was mentally, where I was emotionally, what did I look like physically, where was I as far as like spiritual growth as well. And so having that hindsight allows me to step in that woman's shoes and really be like, I really know what you're going through. I was in that place too. And I too had this struggle, and I too needed some resources or some guidance or something to get me to that next step. And so when I tap into who I was, that allows me as a creative entrepreneur to really create a product or a service or a tool or a resource, whatever it is, that says, hey, you're going to need this when you get to this step. You're going to need the next thing when you get to that step. And no matter where they are, they feel like there's somebody along this path with them. I think it's so important to really have community, to have support, and especially from somebody who has been on that same path So this is really the work that I do is pulled from personal experience, because I so needed me back then. And now, that's the cool thing is like, when you've been able to overcome these certain things and being in the entrepreneurial space, my mantra is, if it doesn't exist, create it. So everything I needed back then, there were some things, but it's like, I didn't want to have like 20 of those things. I really wanted one tool or one thing that got me over that next hump. And that's kind of, in short, that's what I create inside everything I build. And that's inside the Confident Woman Collective, is that container that has all those tools, resources, community, connections to really empower them as a self-empowerment to take that next step and have that courage to do life, unconditionally, confidently, and not by themselves.
Yeah. So it sounds like it allows you to be more attuned to people. So
absolutely.
That becomes a big task for people in the mental health world, is really being to connect and be attuned to what is going on with the person. I'm curious, was there a moment, like a pivotal transformational, like a moment where you kind of recognized something needs to change, or this isn't working, and then how did you take that first step? Because I feel
like there's a lot of those pivotal moments.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I mean, if we're pulling it from the bodybuilding fitness area of life right there, just to give a quick backstory, I had struggled for decades with body dysmorphia, to eating disorders, to yo-yo dieting extremes, whatever it took to really get this body to where I wanted it to be, that I felt would be, acceptable, worthy, loved, all those things that we aspire inside, from also struggling with like self-image and self-confidence, and just that whole, I felt like this big defeat, this heavy looming, like just weight upon my shoulders. And that, what got me to the stage was a past filled with just a lot of pain and struggle and heartache and loss and abuse and all this stuff, that really got me to thinking that if there was a way that I could fix this outside, my inside would be okay. And it was just this chase. And like I said, my book, Chasing Perfection, A Journey to Healing, Fitness, and Self-Love, is exactly that journey, because what made me feel like perfection, this ideal image of perfection, would then garner the results that I'm looking for. So I would say if we're tying it back into the fitness aspect, it was that pivotal moment of really looking myself in the face after I had all the glitz, glamour, spray tan, everything, the day of the competition. And I looked at that woman in the mirror and I didn't even recognize her. And I said, it's still not enough. I'm not enough. And after that competition, so this was in 2012, that was the competition I did like all the things wrong, which landed me there. And I just remember thinking, no matter what I do, it's not enough. And I'm not going to ever get the things that I was hoping to achieve. It's not perfect. It's not what the judges are looking for. It's not giving me the worthiness, like acceptance and love that I so longed for. And that, tying back in after coming full circle, realizing that I was trying to chase a physical, an external element, while the three other counterparts were lacking, and that's the mental, emotional, and spiritual. So also during that first competition, I had a huge physical setback. I had actually ruptured my disc, had to have back surgery that really set me out. So what short-lived identity of a bikini competitor just went up in smoke. And I was just like, again, who am I? So kind of taking that forced setback to fall back into this, proverbial pit had led me to really that journey of self-discovery, because after being incapacitated and obviously, I mean, the pain, the physical, the mental was still like, broken in that sense. Emotionally, I was like, I don't even know what emotions are. Just whatever this weird feeling is, just stuff it down and ignore it. And it
has
got
no
me
business. It has no business in this world. I can't take the time.
I just trained myself, not even just my training myself, but yet it was a condition. It was just like, it wasn't talked about back then in my era. And it was just, if you felt something, people don't need to see how you feel. Just stuff it down, plow through, ignore it, whatever it can, whatever it needs to be. But as we know, what's inside of us, what's bottled up, eventually comes out. And so that I was seeing it was, those emotions were coming out in different areas of my life. So being at the bottom of this pit really forced me to take a million steps back and be like, how did I even get here? Why did I think that this bodybuilding competition would define me? Why did I think that, having this ideal image of perfection would define me. How did I think? And so I really began unraveling just by asking myself those internal questions to really start pinpointing the little connectors that led me all the way back to the childhood things that had really exacerbated that I never had an outlet to process, discuss. I didn't have the support. I didn't have really what I needed to get to me to become the woman I am today. So that, sitting in that pit was probably, the competition was 2012. The back surgery was a couple months right after the competition because I didn't even realize it was 4 days. 4 days before my competition is actually when I ruptured it. But I was so disconnected mentally and physically that I didn't even take care of that pain of this, a big portion of your disc sitting on the sciatic nerve. So that prolonged gap and the big disconnect that ignored my entire body's alarm system has caused permanent nerve damage after all these years, even now. So I have nerve damage in there. That's the big disconnect. And it was huge to come full circle and look at it.
It is hugely ironic because, and I think it happens, it just doesn't happen with you. I think it happens with anybody in some type of physical performance field, whether it's support sports or whatever. You train, like for you specifically, you're training how to really sculpt your body and work out and but then you're not listening to your body. Like you know all the things that you learn in maybe kind of your training or whatever, but they never teach you to kind of learn. They never even teach you the importance of rest. Like just with anything, I'm also hearing kind of this, we get so hyper focused on one particular thing that we neglect other parts of our life. And so when we have an injury, we are completely lost and we don't know how to move forward in that way.
Exactly. And that was, for me at that time, it was just like, I just wanted this pain gone. Like not even just the back pain, but before the back pain actually ruptured, it was, I just wanted to get out of this pain point for all these decades that I had been like just enduring, that if this competition, if I knew that in X time I can look like these, bikini models or Miss Olympia, whatever it is, I was just, fitness, I've always had this inner battle with body. And I didn't like my external. I didn't feel that my body was mine anymore, and it was just this desperate plea for control. And that's how I turned to fitness in the first place, as a way to control and manipulate my body to become what I thought was at least mine. And that's how I thought I was reclaiming some of my power. And so even in that 2012 competition, I wasn't really learning, right? I was just so vigilantly going through the motions, like just hyper focus, like you said, get me to the next step. I don't care what it's going to cost me. I don't care what's going to happen. Get me out of this pain as quickly as possible. And then literally I ended up in pain anyway because of this competition. So 2012 was, success. I didn't learn a whole lot. I learned a whole lot of what not to do.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't learn the positives of what needed to come until I was forced in like time out.
You experienced some success though with it, right? Like, so your bodybuilding effort, you got success. So that didn't help because what you're getting reward. And then you're like, oh, I got to keep doing this. And part of chasing that perfection is probably chasing that reward that never really probably feels good enough anyways. And you're continuing to work for that.
Yeah. And broken outside. And so after doing the inner work in 2012 to 14, between there, almost 2 years old, I don't have physically to do some sort of workouts and whatnot. so I started asking for help, and I hired my first coach at this time. And that took some experience as well, because some of the background of me is that I didn't believe in myself, and I knew that I everything I tried to do on my own, balance it, and so I hired a coach. And the reason I started going was that that's really what the thing that was my main goal. And I just wanted this fitness and diet driven result. So I wanted to see that really help the average stepping stone to help me get some positive results. And when I started to make it work, I probably took several weeks or so, but I was finally getting some traction with it. And I started to realize I wasn't focusing on it. I started to see progress in my behavior. So, like, obviously, I'm grateful for things that I was so resentful earlier. Being grateful to fueling my body with real whole foods, which nutrition stuff can't be. So, it's like a different approach to it, but really uncovering what is nutrition, what is eating, what's a diet, really again filling your looking at nutrition as a form of a sustainable lifestyle versus quick fixes, and redefining how I speak about myself, questioning my beliefs and everything, looking at my support system and are these people for me, or are they just trying to pull me down? I started again, is life happening to me or for me? When I became a victim of my own demise, that was me. It was happening to me. And so really flipping everything, and then 2015 I took the stage again, and it was night and day difference between 2015. I walked on the stage so confident in not only who I am, but who I am, and that was because of all the inner work of my what I call the four pillars: fitness and health, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical, becoming my really helped us work within. So taking that stage is not something that consciously I was best on it. I honestly wasn't. But to know that I could change my life, and I had something that was so new and so profound that I never experienced my entire life, was confidence. And I said, I don't care about whatever award you give me. I believe in my life. I won. Like, it doesn't matter. And so carrying that forward in 2015, I needed my next opportunity to grow like you in the right ways. You do many trophies and whatnot, and I have a couple of behind me. So yeah, finally I finally won my show. I won my life back. I
So we have a well, there's two different directions, two thoughts that I have that both. So I want to cover both, but I wanted to kind of go back to kind of the chasing perfection aspect, because one of the ways I kind of look at it is product versus process. So I'm gonna see chasing perfection as being chasing the product. So you're always looking for the final outcome, and that you neglect the process of, like, I always kind of even think of like the mental health work you do. It's like, if you focus on this, the outcomes will fall into place. But if you just focus on the outcomes, you never really reach it, because you're not really focusing on the process, and the process really should be primary.
Right. And that's the lesson I learned in 15. So, in 12, I didn't. I was just so like laser focused, get this done, get me out of here. I don't want to be like this. I don't want to feel like this. Just get me as quickly as possible to the end result. And hopefully it'll be perfect, and then everything will be magical after that. Well, somehow I lived in like fantasy fairy tale land, but yeah, I don't regret any of that, because it really did help open my eyes to what is possible and how much untapped potential lies within. But it was really about me tapping in there and finding it and discovering who I am, instead of allowing the world to tell me who I am.
Did you was there somebody that you connected with to kind of help you get out of that rut? I mean, that's something that people spend lifetimes kind of not figuring out. And is it just that state of self-reflection? Was it the coach that kind of got you to that point to where you kind of made that shift?
So there was a couple things. And so, like I said, kind of in 14 is really when I started to begin questioning, like late 13, 14. In 12, I was still wallowing, and 13, I was recovering. And 14 is really the beginning of my self-discovery. And I began questioning again how I got here. And I was like, oh, it's because of this thing. Then it was that thing. And that connected to this thing. And so really, again, helping myself see the dots to, having still this fighting battle with my physical, and then of course being in that injury space, I gained like all the weight back. Plus I was so disgusted with how I looked in the mirror. I just wanted that part at least fixed. So kind of just the door had opened for me to question. The fitness coach really helped lay the groundwork and framework for me to start building some confident stepping stones in the fitness aspect of it. And then I started looking at the other pillars, and from a mental and emotional perspective is where I started seeking out, for the first time, saying, hey, I need a mental health therapist. And then, spiritually, I began to reconnect with my faith and attending church and reading, my Bible and being really into, diligent in that. And so having those four pillars grow simultaneously was so rewarding. And it's like, we can do all the things, watch the videos, read the books, ask the coaches and all these things, but yet if you're not implementing and taking action, then all that is just information, and it only adds to the overwhelm that we're already at in this place.
You became more balanced in the way you take care of yourself and your life. If you're only taking care of one thing, certainly everything else is gonna suffer. What do you notice in the women that you help in terms of what their struggles are? I mean, not everybody you probably help has that same bodybuilding experience, but they relate in other ways in terms of body image, trying to get over kind of these barriers and roadblocks that are in their life. I mean, what are you finding that is most challenging for people to kind of get to where, you want them to be?
Yeah, and so let me preface that the bodybuilding was literally a last-ditch effort for me because of this long decades long of fighting who I was. That I just eventually said, well, if I can look like that girl, and if that's the avenue that she went to get that, better. Let me get there. So yeah, bodybuilding last-ditch effort, because if they're trying to, every diet, gadget, gizmo, extreme workout, whatever was out there, I mean, I was just like, sign me up. So to address your question with the women that come to me, we all see this common core is that they don't love themselves. They look in the mirror and they're either just disgusted with what they see in the mirror, or they're just like, I don't want to live in this body anymore. Like, this isn't a representation of who I am. So we see a lot of women come through with body image, self-love, lacking in those areas. And so in the fitness space, what is really, for me, I wanted my work to be not just of nutrition and exercise, right, but I wanted to dive deep into those other three pillars to really help them gain clarity and confidence. But yet when we're so caught up in just our front vision, right? So the forest and trees analogy, they're only looking at the trees and they're just seeing this reflection in the mirror and saying, I don't like this woman. So they come to me and say, well, how do I get, on the other side of that? And so obviously being in fitness is what I'm attracting women to, as far as the body and the food and the nutrition and all that stuff. So we start uncovering, like, okay, first of all, what is your intention? Like, just talk to me, right? This is through a candid conversation. And through these conversations, I hear what they say. I hear what they're really wanting. And yeah, I develop a way that helps them, okay, well, here's where they're at. They don't really, it's not about let's go work out. It's about meeting them where they're at and helping them rediscover and readdress these beliefs that they've inherited or had brought on themselves. So a lot of it is through nutrition. A lot of it is about what is worthy and acceptable. I mean, our culture tells us you need to be this size and this height and this weight. So we really address those things and start, writing things down. I'm a huge advocate for journaling and writing, and challenging them. So now as they're writing them down, they're seeing the truth, and they're just like, well, wow, how did that make the difference? And I'm like,
right.
Well, this is what you've been conditioned to know is worthy and acceptable. So you're fighting what you really are. So what if we start really nurturing and loving and respecting and caring for this physical? And then that's where we start talking about eating whole real foods, moving your body in a way that is conducive for you and your lifestyle, but yet finding joy in the fitness. Just because all your friends might be marathon runners and you're just not physically built for a marathon run, let's not run. Let's not do it. We got other choices. And start really unquestioning those things. So then on my end, I get to tap into a lot of, again, the mental and emotional aspects that are holding them up, and really start allowing them to see their truth as they start working with me.
Yeah, no, I'd imagine that is a difficult challenge, but it is a challenge that has to be faced, because if you don't get past that, then you keep kind of defeating yourself. And the other piece I wanted to talk about was the idea of dieting, because that is such a, I mean, if you look in society, that's all that is talked about in terms of how you take care of yourself. And I often think, I guess I have an opinion about diets and just in how we interpret them or understand them. But I was curious as kind of your approach to dieting and nutrition, or even just the word diet, and what that means, and how do you, because eating does become an important part of how you stay healthy, but it also turns into that almost hyper focus, like, you know, I don't know. I'm just curious as to kind of how you approach that.
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, we address, you know, what does the word diet mean? And so, you know, when I work with the women, they're just, you know, it's like, oh, you know, I have to like give up all the things I love, or like I can't eat carbs, or I can't have, you know, and so on. You start hearing all the myths and beliefs. And I said, okay, well, let me just tell you what diet is. Diet is the consumption of food and beverages. That's it, period. That's what we consume. However, we're going to start looking at this from a place of a lifestyle. So what we do today is going to last you into the long haul, right? We're setting you up for life. We're not trying to outrun bad habits or next best diet, because we all know we experience this yo-yoing. So we lose 10 to gain 12. You know, oh, we got a vacation coming up in a week. I got to get into my bathing suit. But then while you're there, you know, you're slamming drinks, you know, whatever it is, you come back like plus 10. And it's like, so how long do you want to keep being on this hamster wheel, right? So it's kind of, you know, when we come full circle, and it's like, even for me, you know, from 2012 to that competition to really kind of starting to find myself around 14, 15, I haven't dieted since then. Well, I've competed a couple times, so that's the only time I do dieting. When I'm not competing, it's the same. And to be honest, when I am competing, it's the same of how I eat, just smaller portions. Right.
Well, we have a model. We talk about this in our mental health field, because our field's very much about evidence-based practice. And so there's a research that was done, and one of the things that we talk about from that research is every model is wrong, some is useful. And the kind of meaning behind that is that cookie cutter approaches don't work, because everybody is coming to the table with different experiences, different genetics, different supports and resources, that you can't just expect that if I do cognitive behavioral therapy with you when you're completely overwhelmed and dysregulated, that you're going to be able to tolerate that type of approach. And I think the same thing of diets, like you can't just take the Atkins approach and apply it to everybody, because everybody's body's different, their hormones are different, their level of activity is different, you know, all sorts of resources. I mean, one of the biggest frustrations for me with diets is like, the healthier you eat, the more poor you're going to be, because it's so expensive to kind of eat healthy. So those are kind of like my experiences with that. It's like, we're trying to take one way of doing things and applying it to everybody and saying that it's going to work. It doesn't matter who you are. Just
That's why I have my own little thing. You know, there is no one size fits all when it comes to exercise, for nutrition, self-love, their own journey, whatever it is. There is no one size fits all, and that really is empowering that woman to create the life that she loves. And it's not like you're just gonna, you know, sign up with me and get my cookie cutter plan and be on your way and look and act just like me, right? Because if I'm the one creating it, you would think like that's my only experience, that's my only know-how. So I'm anti one size fits all.
Right.
And so that's why I say, I meet the women where they're at, working on what they really want to achieve, but yet giving them what I know that they need. And that's really, the inner work, the deeper work that we work on together. And also just, partly with what I do, I help women create just, if they're open to it, depending on, if they're into nutrition or not, or if they're just, I'm cool with where I'm at there, but I want help over here. But we start keeping like a journal log just so they could physically see what they're eating. And you'd be surprised that women are like, I didn't even know what I'm eating. Like, we can all just say, oh, I eat clean, I eat healthy. Well, define what clean and healthy means. Well, I eat a salad. Well, describe to me what's on your salad. Well, I have this and I have that. And great. So you just ate 1,300 calories on your salad. So let's address this. And so it's really about bringing awareness to what they think, because what they think is what we put out in the media. Eat a salad, I don't know, do like some jumping jacks and some squats and some sit-ups, and all of a sudden you're gonna be so fit. Okay, great. Well, we know that that's not truth. So let's really challenge and question what is truth for you. And so that starts uncovering. And even many of my clients are just like, I'm so full. I didn't even know that I can eat this much and still lose weight. I said, great, because you've been under eating for so long that your body isn't even like moving in the right direction, right? So again, giving them the power to eat more, to fuel their body more, eat delicious foods that they love, move their body in a way that feels good to them, filling themselves with being hydrated. And, you can't be slamming your Trulies and some wine nights on your girlfriends, and really taking into account what is your lifestyle at right now. There's going to be some sacrifice, but yet I'm not asking you to give up your entire life. Just be like, okay, well, this old life didn't work, so let's create a new one. Those gradual changes in the habits and all come down to your behaviors and your beliefs. So let's really challenge the root of where it comes from, and those are your beliefs.
Do you usually start with like one small sacrifice at a time, or one change at a time, versus trying to change the whole picture all at once?
Very small. They're small changes that are so easy to implement. It's not like, okay, here's your meal plan with the 7 boring, sad foods, and you have to run at least an hour a day, and then get your 2-a-days in, and drink, a gallon plus of water. It's like, holy crap, not everybody even needs that. So let's work on what you want, your goals, and how we can achieve those in a way that doesn't feel like it's pain, doesn't feel forced. You're not sacrificing anything, but you're truly finding the joy in this life that you're creating. But yeah, one of the things is just having them create a food log, whether they journal it or they use a meal tracker, whatever it is, because I really want them to physically see the evidence of what they're putting in their body. Because we all know, like, we can't manage what we don't measure. So if you're not measuring what you're eating for the day, how are you going to know what your caloric intake is? How are you going to know what nutritional value these foods are? So there's some of that tedious learning curve up front, but I know that tracking and logging and journaling and all this stuff isn't for everybody, but it's just a way for them to visually see what they're doing.
That kind of gives them more of making it more concrete, making it more tangible to kind of understand what they're doing. Do you approach eating healthy? How do you separate it, or find a way to separate it from identity, or separate it from self-worth? Because even if you kind of have this holistic view, it certainly, maybe there's still going to be those trip ups where it's like, I'm not losing the weight as fast as I would like to, or I'm really missing my double cheeseburger that I gave up yesterday with friends or whatever. There's going to be those things where it's like there's elements of, I gotta tolerate some discomfort in life, and that's okay, and not attach it to that product evaluation, that perfection of, I need to be successful at this, and if I don't make fast progress, then I'm not worth it, or whatever. Because I'm sure their brains are trained so well
see what they're looking at. Exactly.
Right, and to constantly evaluate and find ways to show that they're not successful.
Right, and so really on the when we do our check-ins, it's a very thorough check-in, because it helps me gain more information, but it also allows them to see more clarity as what they're working on to achieve. So we have a few check-in questions that pertain to your nutrition, check-in questions that pertain to your fitness, and questions that pertain to self. And then we bring it into, what are some of the wins? What are some of the compliments you've received? What are some areas of progress that you're noticing too? And so really just, those are just a few questions that I do ask, but when I get these check-ins back, I'm able to talk to my clients and be like, okay, great. So what? You didn't hit your nutrition today, but yet you received a compliment from somebody at work. You have more clarity and patience with your children. You are finding that you're not emotionally binging, because you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, right? And they're like, yeah, I guess I didn't really look at it that way because I was striving to hit my 7 out of 7 days of nutrition. I'm like, we're not caring about that. Right. So, for example, one of my clients, when we first met, she said, this is my lifestyle. So first thing first, paint a picture of what your lifestyle is. How busy are you? What's your everyday life look like? What are some of your funs and your joys and treats that you look forward to? And she had told me that she really enjoys on Fridays with the family, they all have a pizza and movie day. And I said, okay, cool. And then so she goes on and tells me, it's Saturday. And then on Sunday, her and her husband share a pizza. That's something they've had since they first started dating. I said, okay, cool. You can have your pizza, right? Pizza on Friday, pizza on Saturday.
You really are not allowed to take away pizza. Right? You're not allowed to take away pizza.
Right.
That is absolutely a sin.
Right. But so her concern was, but if I'm eating pizza twice in like 2 days, is that a problem? And I said, no, it's not a problem. But let's just see how much. Let's take a step back. What is the goal of having the pizza with your family on Fridays? And she said, well, it's our family time. We get to bond, we get to hang out, we get to watch a movie.
Connection.
And then I said, exactly. I said, so you're looking forward to create, connection, memories, experiences with your children that they can carry on as a tradition, right? And she goes, yeah. I said, so what if it's possible that you can still have your pizza, but maybe this time, I said, well, first I said, which one do you guarantee you want to keep? Is like I want a pizza, big ass, right? Greasy pizza, right? And she's like, Sunday. I said, okay, let's keep that Sunday. Right. And I said, so now Friday, you get to, let's make a craft out of it in a sense. Like, get your kids involved to teach them healthy ways to create a pizza. Make your own pizza day, right? So now you get to interact with your children. You're showing them, a healthier ways to do it. You're teaching them hands-on. You're experiencing this with them. It gives the creativity and this fun element to the children. And then you still get to enjoy your movie and your family time. And she comes back the following week and she goes, oh my gosh, my kids loved it so much that all of them got to practice their artistic whatevers, their pizza, and I got to eat my whole pizza, and I didn't feel filled, stuffed and greasy and weighed down and gross. But yet, she goes, this has been an incredible, just a slight change, but yet the pizza was never out of the equation. I said, exactly. So then on Sunday, she's like, okay, so instead of the large pizza, we went with the medium pizza. And I was totally satisfied. We still got to where we wanted to be. And I said, right, they're the little changes, but yet you didn't sacrifice your cravings, your joy, your memories, your experiences. None of those were compromised. You still got those 2 wins. And she's like, I never looked at it that way. I said, so eat your pizza and have the life that you want, right? And so it was just those little changes, right? So those small things start adding up, but it's about replacing current with a healthier option. Your burger, your double cheeseburger, okay, well, there's ways to swap that out. You're not sacrificing unless you absolutely love just smothered in grease and feeling like crap after. I mean, well, then make that your one day that you look forward to it, right? and account for it. But what do you really want more? Is it the taste, the satisfactory, the craving, the feeling that you get from eating something, or is it the people that are surrounding you that really make you feel like a better version of you?
Well, yeah, and so many social situations are centered around food and drink. Mm-hmm. I mean, very rarely do we just sit around and just sit there. We're always drinking something, eating something. And
gotta reframe that into making smarter choices. You can go out for a girls' night and just fill yourself with all kinds of sugary drinks and whatnot, and pick at the fried foods, and you just end up feeling, leaving there feeling worse off than when you went. But yet, what are some alternative choices that you could still partake that aren't going to sabotage your entire, lifestyle that you're trying to build upon? So we already know that, situation A isn't conducive. So let's look at situation B. How can you create more of what you love and enjoy from a healthier perspective without any of those sacrifices. Do you need like a super sugary drink? No. So maybe you just have a glass of wine. It's very simple. It's like 120 calories, you know, up until the pour. I mean, who's pouring it? I don't know. But, you know, look at your calories. So you can have a drink that's like 350 calories, your Starbucks, right? So you can make a healthier version of it. So there's always these trade-offs and swaps, but yet you don't have to go all out with that, with the gluttonous, you know, calorie-ridden drinks or food, which is your diet. But yeah, you can create a lifestyle. The lifestyle is the long term. How can I create these more experiences that I can take with me? And now my children are adopting it, and they're going to carry on this tradition as well.
And I would imagine that maybe there's a fear for some people, if I change the food, I'm going to affect the social situation for the worse in their mind. But in reality, it's kind of, those fears are not really based in reality. They're just fears. And when you actually put it to the test, the family was more than willing to actually probably enjoyed it more. Oh,
she told me the kids were talking about it for like days. They said, we love this. It's so much fun. And she's like, I'm going to keep doing it because, you know, they ate healthier. We all got our pizza, and the kids now, they feel like it's art class. And I'm like, keep doing what you want to do.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And so, you know, it's kind of the trade-off. So you can have, you know, people who are in these social circles, but again, questioning, you know, is what you're currently doing moving the needle closer to where you want to be? So maybe you start limiting, you know, these social settings. Maybe it's once a week, or, you know, twice a month, or even drop it down to once a month, whatever it is, because again, whose life are you living, for them or for you? So start being question what is the outcome? What is the goal that you want? But I think for many of us, we don't stop to ask us what we actually want, and then answer it with like conviction and clarity, like, no, I really want this. And it doesn't have to sound selfish or like, you know, well, it just sounds pretty pretentious that I want this. And it's like, it doesn't matter. If you really want that, look at what is happening around you. Is that going to get you to where you want to be?
Yeah. We talk about, and we use that kind of airline analogy where you take care of yourself first and before you help it. We're a world of people pleasers, and we're more concerned with how other people are thinking about us rather than what we think is best for us. And so we lose sight of who we are and who we want to be. So that is very common. I'm curious into your experience early on in life and transforming into kind of your journey through the bodybuilding and getting to where you are now with your book and your podcast and all the work that you're doing. What role connection and social support played in any of it, good or bad, or just kind of how that plays a role in your journey?
Absolutely. Having the right support and having the community that, you know, surrounding yourself with like-minded people that have a common core, you know, goal. You know, and sometimes it could be hard because it might be a complete disruption from what you're used to. Maybe look at the people closest to you. And, you know, we've heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 you hang with. So, you know, that could be your spouse, your friends, your coworkers, your, you know, siblings, parents, whatever age or wherever your status you're at this point in your life. But look at that and say, are they aiding or enabling me from where I want to be? And so having that clarity of where you want to go, and I'm sure that the first place to start is just, you know, you don't want this, you know, whatever this is for you. And, you know, start looking online for groups or communities, or even make your own community group. You know, if you like, you know, they jokingly say, you know, like long walks on the beach. Well, if you're looking at your 5 people and they're not long walks on beach kind of people, go find those people, right? You want people that are just, you know, maybe more into fitness and health because that's something you're aspiring to be, but yet you don't have the friends and connection at a gym. Maybe you haven't even gone to the gym yet, but yet you kind of go put yourself out there. And I know that could be scary too, but just as simple as, you know, being behind on your computer and just doing some searches, you can at least see what other people are doing. And if you start off small and just start incorporating that solely, that's at least a step in the right direction, because you're going to feel better that you took that one step, even if you're by yourself, secretly in the closet, like nobody knows I'm on this journey yet. But at least it's just, you know, get the ball rolling. You got to get a little bit of traction, and then, you know, maybe you end up at the gym, maybe you start talking to the person next to you, and so on. And so now you start being in proximity of those people who have like visions for you as you. And so it doesn't mean that you love your family or friends or coworkers any less, or the loyalty has changed. It's just now you have a different goal, and maybe the goal now is no longer to please them, but yet to fill you and start pleasing your goals and your aspirations and everything that you want, because you matter, right? We have one life. This is what's the important part of it, is that you have one life. Start living for you, not them. I mean, you're talking to a recovering perfectionist. People pleasing was my job. This is something that I bent over backwards to the point of complete burnout, exhaustion. I had nothing left to give. And in desperation, that's where I felt so out of control in a life that was just spinning out of control. So as a perfectionist, you just grasp onto anything just to get that control. So what we hold on to holds on to us. So where was that control coming from? It was all coming from fear. It was fear because I was so depleted that there was nothing left to give, that if I gave too much, then how am I supposed to serve the next person? How am I supposed to give to the next person? Because if I don't give to them, they won't love me. They won't accept me. They'll reject me. And so again, all these fears, right? But it comes back to reclaim your power. At this point, I don't want to say like in a bad way, but who cares about them, right? Because it's finally for you. Take back your life and your power to do what you want to do in life. So it's kind of on the flip side. Where do you rank yourself on the priority list in your life? Where are you in your home, in all these areas?
Well, I kind of think of if you were, I kind of think of it like if we had to split chores in a house, and I decided to do all the chores, and then I'd get mad at them for not doing any of the chores, but they're sitting around going, "You're doing them, so there's no need for me to do the chores." And I think in kind of that chasing perfection idea is that if I am trying to people please everybody, I'm taking, that's draining me too much. No one's trying to reciprocate. I'm not even allowing them to kind of put any effort into the relationship because I'm so busy walking on eggshells around everybody, making sure that they're happy.
Right.
And then you never are probably satisfied. You probably were never thinking that you pleased them well enough.
Right. And then when you come on the flip side and you start really preserving your energy and allowing people to at least meet you halfway, then you know that those people are for you. Even in my journey, it cost me some relationships because I realized that I was given 90%. And then, there was a period of time when I was only able to give maybe 50 or 30, and all of a sudden that person didn't show up to carry their 50 or 70%. They're just like, well, hold up. I thought we were friends. And I was like,
right.
Wait a minute. So we're only friends when I'm giving you 90%, that
right.
Asking for more than 10 is too much for you to bear. So this isn't a friendship. This is a one-way relationship. This is where I became, an enabler. And I realized these certain relationships only survived because I was pouring so much of myself into them that there was actually nothing left of me to pour. So they never even got to know me. They were just getting fumes. There was nothing left. So yeah, I mean, the journey is painful, messy, ugly at times, but so rewarding and so fulfilling. And it's just been a phenomenal, life on the other side once we really step into, again, what do we want? What are we really chasing after, right? If you want to put that on there. But I think ultimately what we're chasing after is to know that we matter. At the end of the day, it's enough because we're enough just as we are. We don't have to go above and beyond, but just accept where we're at. To be grateful, to be content, to be happy, to be alive, to know that who you are and whose you are is really what matters. And it doesn't matter what those other people think of you. And that's why I say, who cares, right? But really at the end of the day, are you satisfied with what you gave, what you did? And is it enough for today? Because there's going to be a tomorrow, right? Hopefully, if we're gifted.
Right. And I feel like if you're chasing after things, they're always going to be running away from you. Like exactly. It's like when you chase after your dog, the dog keeps running away. It's not like it comes right to you. So, and when you stop chasing, then the dog is more likely to come back and I think that's true. Like the more you chase after something, doesn't mean that you don't strive for things or you don't have goals that you're trying to achieve. But if you're chasing after it, that means you're not thinking about how you're not working smarter. You're just working harder, and you're not doing the right things to get your goals met.
Exactly.
You have a quote that I read. It said, "Consistency over time yields results." So I'm curious because how do you help people maintain that consistency?
Yeah, so I love that. That's kind of, I have multiple mantras for myself, but yeah, consistency compounded over time yields results, because we can look at that as, what are we consistently doing? What foods are we consistently filling ourselves? What thoughts are we consistently thinking? What actions are we consistently doing? And so all of those things really over time is, so they say, how did I get here? Well, look what you've been consistently doing. So, you know, to really help shine light on that, again, coming from, like, we'll just use the nutrition scenario. Tracking, right? So now you're looking at what you're doing. Though it's not only just tracking to be like annoying, oh my gosh, I got to track everything I ate.
Right.
No, now you are physically seeing what happened and how you got to where you're at.
How you're compounding.
Right. And so even if you want to look at it now, you know, for me, I used to hate stepping on the scale because it was like, it defined me. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm plus 3 pounds. So I must have got fatter and my life sucks and all this stuff, right? But now you look at it, it's like, I track my weight because it's just data. It tells me a baseline of where I'm at. Looking at everything else, you know, consistency, again, can show up in all kinds of forms. It's like, oh, wow, consistently, I found that I was a lot more relaxed and more present today. So I would like to incorporate more of that into tomorrow too. So what actions led me to here so I didn't react and, you know, explode and I managed my temper and emotions. Great. So tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing. Right. And so it becomes this practice, and those are the habits that we take with us for the betterment of where we want to go.
So the scale thing is interesting, because I find like that the scale is not always reliable, because if I
it's like one of the worst tools,
right.
tools, honestly.
Okay, so I was like, because I know if I weigh myself at like 3 p.m., it's going to be a lot different than if I weigh myself at 7 a.m.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, if you're jumping on the scale 6 times a day, of course it's going to fluctuate. So at the end of the day, you're like, oh my gosh, because I ate 3 things today, I got fat, and it's just stupid, and I'm just going to quit. And it's like, oh, hold up. No, you didn't. I'm
curious, is there other like measurements that you really kind of like to encourage people to focus on?
Yeah. So, you know, again, coming from fitness, we'll just use fitness again. I always say the scale is the last form of measurement. So again, how taking progress pictures is huge, and even though sometimes it's hard to see those yourself, but you know, when you send it into your coach, we're able to see, you know, the small changes, and the small changes are really the successes. So again, when you talked about, you know, falling in love with the process, it's about the small little changes that consistently over time gets the results of where you want to be. So you might have only lost half an inch this week. You know, pictures might look the same, you might feel the same, weight might stay the same, but half an inch, isn't that the goal? So I don't think many people technically want to lose weight, but what they really mean is that they want to be less, you know, like fat loss, right? It's a slower process. They want to be slimmer, more healthier, more vibrant, all these things that come with reducing the body fat in ourselves. So yeah, progress pictures, measurements. So you can get a measurement tape to keep track of that. How are your clothes fitting? Compliments from other people. How much energy do you feel like? Do you feel like more, you know, clarity in your mind, more energy, vibrant, awake with more enthusiasm, excitement?
Do you feel better?
Like right, or you just kind of dragging butt all day. Yeah. So these are forms of successful wins in the progress, you know, moving forward. And then, yeah, of course, the scale, again, it's just another tool, just like tracking your food. It's just another tool. It's data. So for women who are just like, oh my gosh, where am I going to be? I'm like, you want to gain weight? Go slam some water and jump on the scale. You want to lose weight? Jump on the scale, then go to the bathroom, then jump back on. So this is how easy it fluctuates. So we can't be so tied to that number on the scale. All it does is just tell you what your physical being weighs. It doesn't tell you the fat, the water, the organs, the tissues, the bones, all that stuff that make up who you are, but you're beyond just the physical. You're actually a soul inside this body.
Yeah. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of time to talk about the Confident Woman podcast and just kind of what your goals are with that, or what are some of the topics that you cover and what you focus on with that.
Yeah, so the overall brand that I have is the Confident Woman, and so one of the avenues, you know, is, again, everything is meant for like equipping women with the tools and resources. So the podcast just happens to be one of those avenues. With the podcast, it really is about giving women a place to, you know, talk about the hard stuff. So we like to say we keep it real, raw, and relatable. We talk about the messy middle. We talk about the highs and the lows, but yet really the important factor is how did that woman get to those successes and wins and stuff, and really help close that gap. So anyone who's listening could be like, hey, me too, I'm struggling with that, but now I know that there's hope because that woman that I might have looked up to also shares a similar story to me. And so that's really the premise of the Confident Woman podcast. But yeah, also the Confident Woman brand itself, again, highlights women. It's a platform and stage for women who felt that they didn't have a voice, didn't have a platform, didn't matter. Well, that's the point of it. We're all confident when we come together, and this is we rise together, right? So we're looking for stages, platforms, whatever lane that is, and especially inside the Confident Woman Collective. This is where a collective happens, right? It's a community. It's other women come together to share their expertise, to pour back into a community, to give back and pay it forward is really our model. So how we do that is in different lanes. So whether you're looking to learn something online, we have our expert guides that teach about mind, body, and soul perspective. So whether it comes to vision casting, to time management, to really getting deep with some of the emotional traumas that we may have experienced. We have a therapist inside the community as well. And so it's just really cool. Again, you're not on this journey alone, and being equipped with the right people and the right surroundings and the knowledge and the resources and all that stuff inside, that's where the beauty and magic happen, because again, you are so supported in every asset and facet of your life that's where we get going, and that's where the momentum, you can get to wherever you want to be 10 times faster than if you were just doing it on your own.
Mm-hmm. So connection and community is super important for you.
Huge.
And that becomes a nice healing factor for that. And do you, is that something that you readily focus on for yourself, for your own well-being, outside of kind of the nitty-gritty, detailed, kind of oriented stuff about like diet and exercise and stuff like that, but just kind of making sure you have those community outlets?
Absolutely. And like even me and my, like when I look at fitness, it's just a passion of mine at this point. I mean, I love what I do and I do what I love. And this is where I've been able to turn it into courses and guides and, tools really. I mean, if you're looking to develop, where do I begin with my calories, like how many calories even should I be eating? We have a calorie, it's not just the calories, but it's also a nutrition calculator that really helps establish that baseline to, equipping a woman with a strength training, program so that they don't have to fear the weights, because weights don't make you bulky. They actually get you to where you ideally are striving to be, but yet we have these fear factors out there in the fitness industry. To really uncovering, the mental and emotional side of it through the coursework, but then also inside the collective, we have the guides to really help navigate you and strategize with you to help find you, put you on the right path, but also to be alongside you into this journey. Community is huge. That's something that I do. I'm surrounding myself every day with new women, like-minded, and in fact, sometimes when I find myself like, the big fish in the small pond, it's time to up level. I need a new challenge, and I enjoy being the small fish in a big pond. Like, I want to learn from others. I want to grow with others. And when I felt that I've outgrown, up level, outgrow, up level, and that's the continuous growth journey in life.
The one of the other things that I really encourage people to do, or really feel is really important in terms of how we change our brain or whatever, is pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, not too far out of our comfort zone, but stretching ourselves. So is there something that you've recently done to push yourself out of your comfort zone, or something that you're planning to do in the future to push yourself out of your comfort zone? But I like to highlight people being able to push themselves out of their comfort zone, because I think that's a key to growth and development. So
absolutely. I challenge myself every single day to do something that is pushing me to grow. And then, we hear that saying very often, go push beyond your comfort zone, just challenge yourself, right? But one of the things that I really found myself, and maybe this was early on in my own journey, is that I kept taking that challenge as like, okay, well, I'm going to push myself. But yeah, I found that I was losing pieces of myself because I was adapting to what other people decided was best for me, or in that comfort zone. So I say challenge yourself beyond your comfort zone without jeopardizing your integrity of who you are. So if it doesn't feel aligned in who you physically, or like your core being of who you are, don't do it. Stretch in a way that gives you the growing pains, but when it gets discomfort, that's when you're stretching into somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you is, we also talk a lot about how to staying regulated and when, staying in balance, staying calm. You seem to kind of encourage a lot of reflection. And so in order to really effectively reflect or self-reflect, you have to be pretty well regulated. What do you do on a daily basis, weekly basis that helps you regulate and stay kind of in that state where you can do those things like reflect and push your, face those challenges and stuff?
Right, and you're going to find me in all four of my pillars every day: mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. I do those every single day. So whether it's mentally, I'm challenging myself to learn something, what is something that caught my attention. I'm like, oh, why did I think that way? Or let's go back and address that. To emotionally, journaling, processing some of the things that I'm feeling at that time. Spiritually, it's through prayer, meditation, and my daily devotionals and my Bible. And then physically, it's just, whether I'm strength training that day or going for a long walk, and I'll put my earbuds in and fill my mind with positive encouragement, whether it's music or a podcast or, a service, whatever it is. It's just something that's very uplifting that helps keep me grounded and connected into those four pillars. So when I do feel very dysregulated, I ask myself, I do a mental check and say, why am I feeling this way? Oh, it's because of X, Y, and Z. Well, I need to go fill that little bucket there with something else. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think the regulation is very important. I think that really comes to a lot of the emotional well-being. So, again, giving your full being what it needs and being present to receive it.
Awesome. Well, Rachel Brooks, I appreciate you coming on and talking about your journey and just all the great work that you're doing. Can you let people know where they can find you and what's the best way to find you, I suppose?
Yes. So you can find me on all social medias at I am Rachel Brooks, and my website is iamrachelbrooks.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And I really appreciate being able to talk to you about really important subject like this. So thank you.
Well, thank you.